So today what I've attempted to do is create a quad Cortex preset that mimics Eric Johnson's full rig as much as kind of the CPU power will allow. If you're familiar with his rig, you'll know there's three main signal paths. He's got a clean rhythm, which is usually a stereo setup with two Fender amps, either a twin reverb or deluxe reverbs. He's got a dirty rhythm, which is typically a Marshall 50-watt plexi, and that's what he'll put like his fuzz face in front of. And then he's got his lead path, which is, that's where he's got his Echoplex and his BK Butler tube driver and his 100-watt Marshall plexi for his lead tone. So we've tried to recreate that here. I figure I'll walk through it real quick. So for the clean, I'm using the twin reverb. We're in the vibrato channel. We've got the bright switch on, and we've got the EQ set, as you see here. I pulled these EQ settings generally from a rig rundown on YouTube, and you'll notice the two amps are set up with slightly different settings. One has a little more volume, and the EQ settings are tweaked just a little bit. The reason I do that is because if you're on a modeler, to run two amps with the exact same settings doesn't make a lot of sense, because it's a computer. They'll be exactly the same. And so when I do this, I like to tweak the settings on each amp just a little bit, just to give a little bit more feel of a stereo spread. Similarly, I'm running there's two different kind of Fender twin cabinets, and I'm using both of them, one on each amp, again, just to give some difference in the stereo amps, so you feel that spread a little more. For the clean tones, I am running some compression up front, and then I do have a chorus that you could turn on and off up front as well. And then for the delay, I used an analog delay. I thought this kind of mimicked the sound of other delays he uses better than, say, like a tape delay or something like that. And then for reverb, on all the settings, we've got a plate lush reverb running. So the clean tone sounds like this. So that's with the chorus, if you just want to have without. So that's the clean path. So for the dirty rhythm path, we've got a Plexi 50-watt bright, and that's running into I'm using what's my favorite 4x12 on the Cortex, this Mesa with V30s in it. I am doing a little bit of high cut on this patch just to smooth out kind of that Marshall top end. And then this one doesn't have any delay on it, it's just going into the reverb. So, this is that kind of nice, just kind of a not too overdriven, but kind of good for a kind of a rhythmy kind of thing. And then I know sometimes he'll kick that with a tube driver. That's what this is. And the tube driver settings that I've seen his kind of shows it really everything at half, except he'll roll the tone all the way off. And that is, I think, just to kind of warm up this dirty rhythm tone with the Strat. He'll also, like I said, this is what he'll put his fuzz face in front of. And so I'm using the fuzz face on the quad. I will say I'm not a big fan of any of the fuzzes on the quad Cortex, so to me this isn't perfectly right, but it's kind of in the ballpark. The other thing I'll have on that sometimes is he'll throw a flanger on this, and I think this kind of flanged fuzz face is how he does like the high Landrons lead tone at the beginning. That one's, it's hard to get. So what I'm doing there is I'm trying to, you know, everything I understand about that sound is it's actually two flangers that are kind of almost opposite or canceling each other out. So I tried to do that here with, I'm running stereo flangers, and I basically set the speeds to be, one is half of the other. The idea is to get kind of that flange wave to kind of intersect a little bit. I don't know that I was fully successful in this one. It's really a hard sound to mimic right, but I thought it was close enough to include. And then we've got our lead channel, which I am throwing some compression on the front. I'd like to do this for kind of Eric Johnson-y kind of sounds because it allows you to get some fullness and compression without having to really push the drive and get kind of that messy hair, because that's not his tone at all. For the kind of the pedal in front of the amp, I'm using the Obsessive drive. I think this is kind of the closest to me to what I hear in his sound and what the BK Butler 2 driver will do. It's funny, I had a BK Butler 2 driver that I would use, and while I had it, I got the OCD pedal, and I remember thinking like, these are really similar. I don't need both of these, and I ended up getting rid of the OCD. So I figured this would be a good one. And you see here, it's like the drive is not very high because we're running into a plexi that's driving quite a bit. I have rolled the tone back quite a bit, and then pushed the volume boost a little bit. So again, we're trying to get some darker drive here to put in front of the amp. And then for the lead amp, we've got a plexi running patch. You know, gains a little past halfway. You've got your bass and your mid. Treble is pretty much all the way off. Presence is very low as well. And we're running into our same 4x12 here. For the low high cut, I've dropped it down quite a bit here. Again, we're trying to tame that treble to get that kind of real rounded violin tone that he has. And then we've got a tape delay running here. You know, I'm running a delay time around a little over 400 milliseconds. So the lead tone sounds like this. So the idea is to kind of get that kind of round violin tone, get some sustain without a lot of hair on it. And so the last thing I have here is I have a looper built in, and that's what I was using at the beginning of the video. Because, you know, when I think Eric Johnson, one of the first things I think about is that on the Live in Austin recording, that opening to Cliffs of Dover, where he's got that kind of delay repeat going and he's playing on top of it. And so I really kind of built this preset, honestly, to run in, let me go back. So the scenes set up like this. So you've got the clean chorus, a clean with just compression on it. You've got your dirty rhythm built, driven by a tube screamer. You've got your fuzz rhythm, what I'm calling my attempt at the high Landrons tone. So that's the fuzz with the flanger on it. And you've got your lead tone. But I think this is set up best to run in a hybrid mode, to put the scenes on top of the stomp. And then what you've got here is you've got your clean, and you can turn the chorus on and off. You've got your dirty rhythm. You can turn on your two screamer if you want. You've got your fuzz rhythm. You can add your flanger if you want. And you've got your lead tone. You can even add your flanger to that lead tone if you want. And you have access to your looper here. So, let me know what you think and how close I got here. Like I said, this is available on my Quad Cortex account. You can download it and play with it, and let me know what you think. Thanks.